Greetings and good morning there, YouTubers. Others, I'm not assuming that I say YouTubers because I think it's kind of funny, and sometimes I spell YouTube in a funny way. Sometimes you'll see Article 370 there. Yes, I've been continuing my trek through India and the history there. It's not like we always have a lot of time for research in my century, right? The 1900s. I have a lot of jobs and programming and stuff, so I'm not keeping up on everything that's going on. That's just a fact. I'm not saying I'm apologizing or anything. I'm just saying, wow, there's so much to know. And I'm not saying I'm going to learn it all. I'm not making that commitment. Of course not. I'm just this mortal dude, right? Speaking of which, before I rant further, couple show and tells. Uh, I've shown this book many times, or at least a few times. This is not the usual first book that anyone usually tackles by this very famous philosopher, Austrian, we could say Austrian philosopher. He fought in World War One. He joined the army and he loved Tolstoy, and he was a prisoner of war in Italy. But in his prison camp there, he was working hard on his Logico Tractatus Philosophicus, etc., etc. There's a lot about him in this channel, so I bring him up advisedly. And now, in a change of topic, really, but another show and tell item and a puzzle piece here on this channel. Say at Lattice Gallery, go back and look for an installation there that was there only for a couple hours. The center guy there is this Zoltar. Now he does work, right? I had him for weeks with thanks to Glenn who gave him to me as a gift, like the proverbial antique store buy, and we weren't sure he was going to work at all. In other words, he's electrically powered and says stuff. And we do have him working now. It's a matter of having fresh batteries, really. And so I'm not going to turn them on now. That would probably be a spooky ball episode. I do have the spooky ball here, but this is more of just straight ordinary episode. A couple more things to show you. First of all, I want to say I'm back to YouTube here. I'm impressed with the what you call it, the AI, the suggestion engine. Like since I started diving into researching India, RSS, BJP, what's been going on, what has been going on, right? That movie Gandhi was pretty good, wasn't it? But you have to understand about the division into nation states on the whole. Like if you have a movie of the Earth running and fast forward, there weren't these nation states. And so what you're really seeing emerging is everybody getting on board. Are you going to be part of India? And it's not just border states. Like deep in the middle of India, what we today call India, are giant states like Texas bigger. That no, I don't think so. We don't really want to be part of this India thing. We're not into it, right? But how can you have nation states that have nation states inside? They exist, but they're considered, I don't know, unfortunate. I don't know why I'm not apologizing for any of this, by the way. I'm not the lawyer for this topology. Let's just get that clear. But, it's what's come up, it's what's here, right? So India had to sort itself out, and in so doing, Pakistan got chopped off for Muslims, kind of. You have to say it kind of like that. And people were pro and against this whole idea of division along religious lines. And what is a nation state in regard to religious traditions, right? It's like it takes a long time for this to sort out, and you could say it just doesn't sort. It doesn't ever sort out. And there's various secular theories, and I'm a student of them that do have an answer. It's like how they all come to somewhat the same conclusion, which is you have a lot of freedom to associate with other people who think like you. And in that freedom, you get to create what I'll call cults. But I'm using the word cult rather even handedly to encompass anything really, right? And I'm not being against cults in that sense. As a secularist, you could say, I'm like, yeah, we're always going to have them, But what can we do? How can we still have infrastructure? How can all these cults get electricity and sanitation? And how can we have like asylum cities where people can flock to these places and not reignite all their old hatreds immediately? And so the place disintegrates right away. It's like there's an alchemy here. And I'm not saying I'm the answer man. I'm just saying, when do we get to experiment? Oh, I see. We've been experimenting. Yes, that's all we do. Okay, I get it. So we're in the science of planet Earth, and there is no instruction manual. But anyway, YouTube's been helpful. The recommendation engine has shifted to like reflect some of the stuff I look at. Like I don't say because this stuff shows up that oh I've watched this or anything. This is not my watch history. My view history, let's take a look at that. If you've never used YouTube, here's what it looks like. There's something called your history, and you can pop that up, and you can erase your history, whatever. You can worry about who else has your history. So I know I'm sleeping through a lot of these at this point. I'm certain of it because I don't remember listening to this much Krishnamurti at one point. And this famous uh, Indian writer that a lot of people have a lot of thoughts about. I haven't had a lot of time to tune in, so we're doing that. And then you'll see going back, this I am awake for, and I'm going back through my own Python subculture. I call it mine because for the last 10 or so years, more, 20, I've had Python woven through what I do quite a bit, but that wasn't the first programming language for me. I came up through Portland's nonprofit community as one of the programmers. I worked with the Oregon Food Bank and um, obviously the hospital system, but I was thinking before that many smaller clients, and I did a variety of jobs, but they involved coding. And I was affordable and I was local, and so I could fix problems. We had a personal relationship. I didn't have that many clients, therefore, and I lived a fairly simple lifestyle, but it was good. And so that's a background explaining my ongoing interest in coding and teaching. I used to be a high school math teacher, and if you've watched this channel quite a bit, okay, let's move on back to this channel quite a bit. Two more show and tell items, I promise. And one I've shown a lot, okay? But this one, next one, new, I think, for this channel. Paradise Mislaid, okay? Pretty thick book, lots of footnotes, scholarly, well written. This is by Ed Applewhite. I will take a drink of coffee here. This is just coffee. This is the day after Thanksgiving in 2019. And Ed Applewhite and I got to know each other only in the last few years of his life. I was a latecomer in his scenario, and he was a very interesting character, and I've talked about him at length. But he worked closely with Bucky Fuller on the synergetics, which is kind of what I've filtered through my high school level Martian math, right? Just some stuff about polyhedrons. Hold that thought. And then this is the one I've shown a lot of times already. And why do I keep showing this? It's not, well, partly because growing up I was really into Jung and Freud and all that psychoanalysis, psycho stuff, right? That was good reading. As a kid, couldn't beat it. Philosophy I got into also, but later, actually always into that. And science. Isaac Asimov, a lot of good science. So coding. Anytime you major in philosophy, it's always what are you going to do with that? And a lot of philosophy majors end up coding. Case in point. But the Suspensky stuff, I do not call myself a disciple of Uspensky or fan of, just because I haven't earned that. I haven't studied, read, appreciated really deeply enough, I don't think, directly Uspensky stuff to call myself his disciple. I don't think I have earned that, okay? But through such as Maurice Nicole here, I get a lot of impressions and ideas. Ditto Gurdjieff. So I'm happy to be hearing about him and stuff. It's not like I have any closed mind here. I'm just saying I'm limited. But the good thing about this book, and here's what I'll end with, is it's focused on automaticity and roboticness. And I think when we study life down to the virus, and that's been a topic of recent YouTubes, right? Let's keep scrolling back here into one of my YouTubes. I think this one, the one before, let's just go straight to my channel. I'll show you what I'm talking about. But we've been talking about machine versus alive, right? And how that was interesting in the Fuller world. This one, I think, investigating ideologies, where I scroll through all this stuff about War of the Worlds and the virus, and I'm talking about how the virus is very machine like. And it's a meditation. I'm not here to give a strident answer about the world is a machine, the world is not a machine. It's like, how do we balance our meanings? Because they're all interdependent. So the weight keeps shifting how we think about things and how we think about machines. That's changed since silicon and programming and television. Has changed how we see technology, and our thought processes as interweaving has changed a lot, I would say. Marshall McLuhan is aware of that, and I'm grateful that I can watch him on YouTube. So just wanted to tie it off by saying I like this book because it's not something to agonize over, that people are kind of robotic in that they can be relied upon to kind of keep coming back to the same thoughts, and that they have a personality, and that you do have a way about you, that you are set in your ways to some extent. Like my dad never liked getting, quote, stuck in a rut. I get it. And then there's the comfort that there's a lot of automaticity. That's not a bad thing. It's how the world runs. It is programmed in some wonderful way. And I'm not, that sounds hokey now, but I'm just saying it's so precise that it keeps going, right? Atoms are very like, wow, right? Intricate. I don't know what to say except we should sometimes take rest in the precision of the machineness of it all. And like when you're on a train at night and you don't think the train's going to run off the rails, you think you're safe, and the train's rocking. That's machinery, right? That's the comfort of the train. And sometimes I think it's okay to repose in that and not feel like the machine is a bad thing. And so, but industrialization has been very harsh, and machinery has hurt the human flesh a lot, like bullets, right? This is not good for biology. So I can see where biology versus machine is close to the heart of many. They're like, they don't want to see the hybrid side of intelligence, right? The kind of transhuman that we already are in a way, because we're communicating through bits, and we've changed our species quite a bit without genetic mutation, because we're very plastic in other ways. And so we do change. We are adaptable. That's always been said. It's a good thing. Yay, 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 humans and all that. But we do have a lot built in that doesn't just change on a dime, doesn't snap. So we should be glad of that. I'll call that the conservative side. That there's a lot we can just sort of, um, I don't know, go along with and not change, because there's we need to prioritize. That's it. Okay. Very vague generalities. Going to fade out on that. Talk to you soon.